Before heading to his mother-in-law's wedding, Tom asks his daughter Chloe to leave her favorite blanket at home because he doesn't want it in the car. Meanwhile, Larry and his teenage son Mitch wait for his wife Tish to finish her makeup for Uncle Phil's wedding. As they drive, Tom swerves on the busy highway to grab Chloe's blanket after it flies out the window. They arrive at the church just as the ceremony ends, and Maria congratulates her mother Edie and her new husband Phil. At the reception, Tom watches Tish enter the ballroom. After the nephew congratulates the couple, Phil offers Larry a job at his garbage company. During Larry's speech, Tish notices Tom giving her flirtatious looks. After the toast, the drunk groom playfully moons the guests, who enjoy the show. Tish, a makeup consultant, shares lipstick tips with the women. Outside, Tom confronts Kevin for canceling his car purchase, leading to a near fight before other guests intervene. Tish follows Tom as Mitch tells a scary wedding story to the kids. After the celebration, guests gather outside to send off the newlyweds in a red car. Mitch tells Larry he can't find Tish and has plans, so Larry asks a cousin for a ride for Mitch while waiting for his wife. When the other guests leave, Maria and Larry realize they are alone and decide to go back inside. They talk, and she learns he's a ballroom dance teacher. He gives her his card for a free lesson. Larry dances with Chloe, and Maria praises him for how well he interacts with kids. Suddenly, their spouses arrive and explain that Tom took Tish on a test drive, but the car broke down and they lost track of time. Later, Tom tells Maria that he convinced Tish to buy a new car because he knows that's how to make a sale. When Maria comments on his charm with women, Tom thinks she doubts that nothing happened between him and Tish. Maria sarcastically says she trusts him because he's her husband, hinting at past issues. Meanwhile, Tish is warm and caring, but Larry seems unhappy and unsure. Mitch then rushes into the apartment and heads straight to his room. Tish jokes that Mitch has girl problems, especially about a girl on a blue bicycle he talks to after soccer practice. Mitch brushes her off, saying she's not his mother. Larry steps in and asks Tish for some privacy with his son. The next day, Chloe tells Maria that a boy named Lenny is bullying her at school and says he loves her. Maria advises Chloe to be kind to him, and Chloe agrees. Later, Tom goes around town to end things with his various mistresses. He visits Tish at her cosmetics store and asks her to keep quiet about last night, saying he wants to change for good, confirming their infidelity. Tish is upset and starts to leave, but Tom makes an inappropriate remark and suggests they meet later. At the same time, Maria listens to a client ranting about cutting his wife's hair after finding out she cheated. At noon, Maria visits Larry's dance studio to discuss their spouses. In the market, she mentions the possibility of Tom and Tish being together last night. Larry initially says he trusts his wife, but then admits he's angry. After he calms down, Larry apologizes to Maria for how hard it must be to talk. Later, he asks what they should do about their spouses, and she jokes that they should shave their heads, leaving him puzzled. That evening, Tom surprises his wife with a gift and decides to cook dinner. Maria mentions that they talked about their marriage earlier, which makes Tom uneasy, but he acts like it doesn't bother him. A few days later, the whole family gathers at Edie and Phil's house to watch Mitch's edited wedding video. Their laughter quickly turns to confusion when Mitch includes disturbing images of real-world issues in the montage. When a clip shows Tom and Tish sneaking away during the reception, Tom hurriedly turns off the TV. He then confronts Larry about having lunch with Tish. Larry replies that they didn't have lunch because his car broke down, which made them late. Tom leans in close to Tish and hints that their spouses know about their affair. After lunch, Maria finds Phil unconscious in a hammock and asks Larry for help. Sadly, despite their efforts, Phil dies. At the cemetery, Larry's father, Vincent, comes to attend the burial. He pulls out 2 adult magazines from his bag and gives them to Larry. After the funeral, Vincent apologizes to Edie for missing the wedding, saying he had a hernia issue. Tish and Tom leave the wake early, claiming they need to get back to work. Tish calls her store to say she'll take the rest of the day off, and Tom picks her up moments later. Meanwhile, Vincent comforts Edie and shares how he learned to cope with loneliness after losing his wife of 33 years. Edie expresses that all she has left of Phil is his part of the garbage company, and she doesn't even know how to run it. After the wake, Larry takes Maria to the dock to show her his old boat, which he plans to fix up for sailing. He buys her a hat after discovering her husband dislikes it when she wears one. Meanwhile, Tom listens with annoyance as a coworker brags about an upcoming sale that could earn him a trip to Las Vegas. Soon after, he sees Larry dropping off his hat-wearing wife at the car dealership. The next day, Tom tells Tish he suspects their spouses are having an affair. Tish doubts her husband would cheat with someone like Maria, but Tom worries they might have real feelings for each other. At the same time, Larry takes Maria out for lunch by a lake. As they dry off by the fire, they decide it's best to remain friends, even though they have feelings for each other. Before leaving, they agree to accidentally meet at a restaurant on Saturday night. At the restaurant, Maria invites Larry's family to join their table for dinner. When Tish sees her husband and another woman looking into each other's eyes, she excuses herself to the restroom. There, the legal secretary finds her crying in a stall and apologizes, explaining that she and Larry are not having an affair. They were just playing a game to get back at Tish and Tom. Later that night, Tish rushes home, changes into something nice, and spends quality time with her husband. Weeks later, at another family wedding, Vincent switches name cards so he can sit next to Edie, and his son does the same with his seat next to Maria. When Tish sees Tom laughing and talking with Maria, she dances with other men. Maria encourages Larry to join Tish on the dance floor, but when he stands up, Tom grabs Tish, and they dance instead. To ease the tension, Larry asks the legal secretary if she wants to take a walk outside. Maria jokingly asks what he thinks marriage would be like, and he quips that she might want to smother him with a pillow after 3 months because he talks too much. She reassures him that she enjoys their conversations. Meanwhile, Tish tells Tom that their spouses are in love, and he tries to comfort her by saying she is nothing like Maria. At first, Tish takes this as a compliment, but when he adds that he thinks Maria is too good for him, it offends her. Back at the reception, a drunken car salesman punches Kevin. He attempts to swing at Larry but ends up falling onto the cake and passing out. Later, Edie tells Vincent he can take her car since she'll be staying the night with her daughter's family. Vincent then says he'll return her car tomorrow, but only if she has dinner with him. Although Edie doubts they're a good match, his charm makes her reconsider. At the same time, Maria tells Larry they need to stop seeing each other. Even though they haven't kissed, their spouses think otherwise, and it could get worse. Before they part, Larry tells her he will miss her. In the back seat of the car, his tipsy wife asks if he wants her to leave, saying she will if he tells her to. Inside the house, Edie confronts her daughter about her close friendship with Larry. Maria insists nothing has happened, but Edie suspects she has thought about it. Maria asks if it's wrong to want happiness, and Edie replies that Maria needs to be sure she's willing to risk everything for the dance teacher. The next day, Maria sees Larry across the train station platform and rushes to join him. They ride his motorcycle to a quiet lakeside cottage where they finally kiss and share a close moment for the first time. Later, they sneak out of the cottage, wrapping themselves in a blanket and run to the water for skinny dipping. Meanwhile, Mitch helps his grandfather get ready for his date with Edie. That evening, Maria calls her mother to say she wants to be with Larry, but he doesn't feel the same way. When they return home, Tom then mentions that his office called, wondering why she didn't come in. Realizing Maria spent the day with Larry, he asks if she loves him, and she admits she does. Before leaving the room, Tom tells Maria that Chloe's teacher called about something urgent they need to discuss. A few hours later, the car salesman calls Larry's home phone, and Vincent picks up. When the salesman threatens to harm him if he sees his wife again, Vincent thinks it's a ghost of his brother because he dated Edie. Larry walks in and asks why his father looks scared. Vincent explains the situation, and Larry reassures him it was just a bad dream. Moments later, Tish appears with packed suitcases. She tells Larry she isn't leaving out of anger, but to give him space to decide what he wants. At school, Maria asks the teacher about the scratch on Chloe's arm. The teacher takes her into the classroom to discuss what's really been going on. At the car dealership, Tish tells the salesman she has finally left Larry. After they share a moment together, Tish notices he seems different. He points out that things feel different now that she is single. Offended, she realizes that Tom is one of those married men who only enjoys the thrill of being with unavailable women, and she storms off. Later that evening, Maria visits Larry at the dock and sadly tells him they can't see each other anymore. The teacher explains that she needs to focus on Chloe, especially since she found out her daughter has been bullying Lenny all along. The teacher suggested that the girl might be acting out because she doesn't receive enough attention at home. This insight gave Maria pause, prompting her to reflect on her daughter's needs. Later, just before Vincent leaves, he tells his son that if he truly loves Maria, he should follow his heart without hesitation. This advice hangs in the air as Larry contemplates his feelings. Over the next few months, the legal secretary and the car salesman make a concerted effort to repair their marriage. They prioritize spending quality time with their daughter, trying to reconnect as a family. Meanwhile, Larry keeps himself occupied by working on his boat, using the physical tasks as a distraction from his thoughts. Maria spots the hat that Larry bought her on that unforgettable day. It stirs up a rush of memories, both joyful and bittersweet. In another scene at the junkyard, Vincent kisses Edie passionately and openly declares his love for her, marking a new chapter in their relationship. Weeks later, at Vincent's wedding, Mitch introduces his girlfriend Kathy to Tish, who responds with a cheeky smile, suggesting a lighthearted moment amidst the celebrations. When Maria finally sees Larry again after many months, she instinctively looks away, avoiding any direct eye contact. At the wedding reception, Tish asks her ex-husband why she chose to marry him in the first place. He shrugs, admitting he doesn't really know. She explains that it was because his eyes seemed like those of a man who would never hurt her. Concerned, Larry asks if she thinks he ever did, and she quickly reassures him that he hadn't. Later on, the dance teacher approaches Maria with an invitation to dance. However, Tom steps in, assertively telling Larry to leave Maria alone. This confrontation escalates as Larry tells Maria to spend her life with him, a statement that surprises everyone. Furious, Tom squares up, ready for a fight, but in that moment, Maria finds her voice and finally asserts that their marriage is over. Following the tension, she and Larry share a slow dance, gazing deeply into each other's eyes, their connection reigniting. Months later, the joyful couple takes their kids out on the boat, embracing the fresh air and open water as they set sail together, ready for new adventures as a family.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.